Hello and welcome. This is Africa in 10 minutes, where we bring to you the top business news as reported on Footprint Africa. I'm Chiamaka J. Uwadoka, and in the news this week, the British High Commissioner to Ghana has said that the UK is eager to support Ghanaian SMEs. In Ivory Coast, the government engages 3 airlines over direct flights to the USA in a bid to attract investors. And Movenpick Hotel Abidjan set to open in 2020. And now, the stories. UK's High Commissioner to Ghana, Ian Walker, has expressed his country's readiness to partner the government of Ghana in its quest to grow the economy beyond aid through improved trade and support for the SME sector. According to Mr. Walker, no greater partnership can exist between the two countries than one that is built on fair trade, which is one of his preoccupations coming into the new role. He says, as Ghana looks beyond aid and the UK looks beyond the EU, clearly what unites these countries is trade. But seeing trade go down is a marker that we should be doing something about it, because trade is the best example you can have of partnerships, and this happens when you get the trade on fair terms. I think it is in Ghana's interest and that of the UK to have some of the best British companies working with Ghana. That's why I want to see trade increasing and not simply about volumes. The volume of trade between Ghana and the UK as at 2015 was about £1.1 billion, down by at least 30% from the 2012 figure, due largely to a slump in commodity prices. According to the UK High Commissioner, the UK's decision to leave the European Union presents further exciting opportunities not only for the UK, but also countries such as Ghana to rework a new bilateral trade relationship. In other news, the world's largest producer of cocoa, Ivory Coast, has begun talks with 3 African airlines to operate the first direct route to the United States by early 2018 in a bid to attract more investors. The air carriers being considered include Ethiopian Airlines, which is due to send a team to Ivory Coast before the end of the month to firm up talks, Kenyan Airways and South African Airways, the country's transport minister Amadou Kone has said. Mr. Kone said, "I am pushing for it to happen, that we have a flight at the end of the year or in January 2018. The move by one of the fastest growing economies in the sub-region fits with the strategy of Ethiopian Airlines, which is looking to consolidate its lead as the continent's biggest airline with new hubs and already flies to Ivory Coast and the US. On the other hand, South African Airways is counting on the government-led recapitalization to remain in operation and has had 2 bailouts this year to avoid defaulting on debt. With regards to Kenya Airways, which is about 27% owned by Air France KLM, it has said it's seeking a partner in the US to start transatlantic flights as it looks to expand its operations. A direct route to a city such as New York would attract more investors to the West African nation and help Ivory Coast's capital Abidjan position itself as a regional hub, Kone said. Ivory Coast's economy has expanded by an average of 9% per year since 2012, while the government has introduced a number of incentives to lure companies, including Carrefour SA, to the country and initiated several infrastructure projects, including an Abidjan urban railway. Currently, over 400,000 passengers fly from the West African sub-region, with an exception of Nigeria, to the US every year. Air carriers such as SAA already flies from Accra, the capital of Ghana, to Washington DC, while Delta Airlines Incorporated of the US operates a route from the same city to New York. Moving on, Movenpick Hotels and Resorts has marked another milestone in its Africa expansion strategy, with construction work on the 160-key upscale Movenpick Hotel Abidjan now underway. The upcoming property's first stone was laid on October 7, and a 2020 opening date was announced in a ceremony that heralded the acceleration of the Swiss hospitality firm's development plans in the sub-Saharan region. Movenpick Hotel Abidjan will be the company's first property in Côte d'Ivoire and one of the 4 currently active developments in the region. The other 3 are Movenpick Hotel and Residences Nairobi in Kenya, which is on track to open in 2018, Movenpick Hotel Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, set to open in 2019, and Movenpick Hotel and Conference Center Abuja in Nigeria, set for completion in 2020. Movenpick Hotels and Resorts currently operates a 260-key property in Ghana, Movenpick Ambassador Hotel, Accra. As building work on Movenpick Hotel Abidjan commences, we take another step closer to realizing our ambitious expansion plans for the sub-Saharan region, Andrew Langdon, Chief Development Officer, Movenpick Hotels and Resorts, has said. Movenpick Hotel Abidjan is located in the heart of the city's Le Plateau Business District, home to government buildings and local landmarks such as St. Paul's Cathedral and the Banco National Park. When completed in 2020, the property will feature an all-day dining restaurant, a lounge and a bar, an executive club lounge, a state-of-the-art fitness center, and contemporary meeting space. The hotel will be well placed to facilitate trade missions, government-related business and general commercial trade, said Langdon. Movenpick Hotel Abidjan's ownership is a joint venture between Saprim, a private company that owns the office complex and mall adjacent to the property, and renowned construction firm Boucherie Bâtiment International. In investment news, Growfin, a firm that provides financing for SMEs, has received a 1 billion shilling grant from the USAID to support agribusinesses across the East African region. USAID confirmed the grant in a statement, adding that the fund would benefit agribusiness-focused SMEs in Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania, the region's key markets. Growfin will review 200 agribusinesses from which it will draw a smaller pool of enterprises for commercial investments in the form of debt and quasi-equity, Business Daily reported. Our intent is to provide business support and assistance to catalyze investments into food security, staple foods, and high-value nutrition products, said Rishi Kupchandani, investment executive at Growfin. Off-grid solar will bring basic electricity services to almost 70 million more people in Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, a new report has established. The report, the International Energy Agency 2017 report on renewables, IEA, confirmed that solar is now the fastest growing energy source in the world and is making a major impact in Africa. It forecasts that off-grid solar capacity in Africa is set to almost triple in the next 5 years, saying that it will bring basic electricity services to almost 70 million more people in Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. The IEA found that the amount of power from solar grew by more than 50% and has officially increased energy output globally at a faster rate than any other fuel. The report specifically highlights off-grid solar as a dynamic sector set to accelerate this growth. Lumos, a company that offers one of the fastest growing off-grid solar services in Africa, is at the forefront of this expansion. Lumos launched its mobile electricity service and the Yellow Box in partnership with MTN in Nigeria earlier this year. The device transforms the sun's energy into electricity and is paid for via mobile phone. According to the IEA, off-grid capacity in Africa and Asia is set to reach over 3,000 megawatts in 2022, CEO of Lumos Nigeria said. This is the latest evidence that off-grid solar is providing the answer to growing energy demand in Africa. There is no other option available that can provide energy that is as affordable, reliable, and clean. We are changing the way people access electricity, and this is only the beginning. Mobile phones improve millions of lives, and now we are seeing the same thing with mobile electricity, the CEO added. The IEA report projects that over the next 5 years, services like Lumos will be the catalyst and drivers of innovative payment solutions that can allow low-income populations access to electricity. And finally this week, the new European Union ambassador to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Mr. Kjetil Karlsen, has stated that the mutual trade partnership between Nigeria and the EU will be sustained for the benefit of both countries. Karlsen said this in Lagos at the launch of the 6th and 2017 edition of the EU-Nigeria Business Forum with the theme Youth as Engine of Broad-Based Economic Transformation. He disclosed that the export trade volume from Nigeria to Europe in 2016 amounted to 20 billion euros. This, he said, represented 39% of Nigeria's export for that year. The trade partnership between the EU and Nigeria is already very significant. We are each other's biggest trade partner in this part of the world, Karlsen said. How good to have a conducive environment for European investment, such as through Economic Partnership Agreements, EPA, which is one of the key priorities. How good we could get in dialogue about issues relating to migration and mobility, given the real opportunities for work and employment and jobs for young Nigerians in Nigeria. And of course, we want to continue working with Nigeria as a like-minded partner, the strong regional, international, and global partner that Nigeria is for the European Union, he remarked. However, he noted that for Nigeria to attract more foreign investors, the country needs to have strong will to fight corruption. It needs to ensure there is transparency, having the legal certainties that the system will address and not leave out impunity and corruption issues, something that reassures international investors that they can safely invest their money in a country like Nigeria. That concludes the stories of the week. Please stay tuned for a recap. The British High Commissioner to Ghana has said that the UK is eager to support Ghanaian SMEs. The government of Ivory Coast engages 3 airlines over direct flights to US in a bid to attract investors. Movenpick Hotel Abidjan set to open in 2020 as Swiss hospitality firm confirms ambitious plans for Africa. SME Investment Fund receives $10 million grants to finance agribusinesses across East Africa. Africa's solar market predicted to experience boom in next half decade. And EU keen on enhanced trade relations with Nigeria. To keep up with the trending business news in Africa, stay connected. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, Follow us on Twitter and connect with us on LinkedIn. These news and reports are called from Footprints Africa. For daily updates and more business news in Africa, log on to www.footprintsafrica.com today. Footprints Africa, business news made in Africa by Africans.